Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody here to our program tonight. Juanito's here from El Centro, California. Demon Catman is here from the east of England. And Richard Smith is here from the great place of Nova Scotia, Canada. Welcome, guys. Welcome, Juanito. Welcome, everybody here to our program tonight, including Coy. She's here as well right now. We are expecting more people here as we get going here this evening. We have Ms. Constitutional Rights here. We want to welcome you here. Welcome Constitutional Rights here all the time. We love our constitutional rights. We do. Richard Smith is reporting a 4.1 in Mindoro, Philippines. Mindoro, Philippines, I should say. Thank you, Richard. We appreciate that. Now, I want to say this. I won't be able to talk tonight about earthquakes worldwide. There are just not enough earthquakes to talk about. There's been no major earthquake activity at all anywhere in the world. There has not been major earthquakes. There's been almost no large earthquakes at all. I'm going to say that right out front because I don't think we're even going to go to the USGS map tonight. However, we will be talking about earthquakes. We will be talking about volcanoes in just a few minutes. I want to first start off with what happened last night. I want to start off talking about the DNC convention in Chicago, Illinois. As we have been told for the past 24 hours, there have been protesters outside the DNC arena in Chicago. There was a huge fence erected to keep the protesters in one place. Most of these are Palestinian protesters. Other protesters are protesting against the DNC. They don't even have to be Republicans there to protest against the DNC. A lot of people hate Kamala Harris. A lot of people hate Joe Biden. A lot of people hate the Democrats, period. But last night, we saw the opening of the Democrat National Convention. Now, I want to tell you this before we get really going here tonight. Kamala Harris gave a speech last night that wasn't too bad, but she didn't talk about the border. She didn't talk about illegal aliens. 20 million illegal aliens that have crossed into the United States from the southern border. 20 million illegals. What are we going to do with them? She gives us no idea what she wants to do. She didn't even approach that. She talked about the economy a little bit, but not very long. She didn't do anything but throw Joe Biden off the cliff. She threw Joe Biden off the proverbial cliff like this. Okay? Joe Biden had a speech last night that was of someone that wasn't totally in charge of themselves. Biden gave a speech where he stuttered, he stammered, he was trying to read the teleprompter, but at times he just couldn't. He tried to go off the teleprompter, and when he did, he was completely lost. Now, I don't like Joe Biden. I absolutely don't like Joe Biden and never have. He's been in either Congress or the presidency, vice presidency or the presidency of the United States for 43 years. 43 years. He has no business being there any longer. He has no business being in charge of the government for 43 years. Plain and simple. We need to have term limits, number one. The President of the United States can't serve more than 2 terms as President. At all. The Vice President serves 2 terms as well. In this case, Miss Harris, I'm going to call her Camelback, for lack of a better word. I don't want to get thrown off this channel by using her name. Camelback also gave a speech, and she tossed Joe Biden off the cliff. Let's go to that speech right now. Camelback's speech was off the teleprompter. She didn't hardly talk about much of anything at all. This is what she did say.
Good evening, everyone. to be with everyone this evening in this hall and everyone at home. This is going to be a great week. And I want to kick us off by celebrating our incredible President Joe Biden, who will be speaking later tonight. Joe, thank you for your historic leadership, for your lifetime of service to our nation, and for all you will continue to do. We are forever grateful to you. Thank you, Joe. And looking out at everyone tonight, I see the beauty of our great nation. People from every corner of our country and every walk of life are here, united by our shared vision for the future of our country. And this November, we will come together and declare with one voice, as one people, we are moving forward. With optimism, hope, and faith, so guided by our love of country, knowing we all have so much more in common than what separates us, let us fight for the ideals we hold dear, and let us always remember, when we fight, we win. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. Good night, everyone.
As you can see, she didn't say anything there. Absolutely nothing. Nothing new. She actually acted like a talk show host. Good morning, everyone, waving her hand through the air. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We appreciate you all. She didn't say squat. She said nothing at all. Now, I've got something else I want to show you. Okay? I can't wait to show you this next thing. What happened at the White House yesterday during the day and also today? What's sitting over in front of the White House? This is a U-Haul van. After Biden showed his face at the pulpit of the National Convention last night, which just happened to be at 11:30 to about 12:30 this morning, his speech was not even carried in prime time. His speech was not even carried in prime time. Usually when a president of the United States speaks, he speaks in prime time, meaning about 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., sometimes up to 9 p.m., usually. Last night he came to the pulpit over there at the convention at 11:30 p.m. Like I said, he staggered. He stammered. He really didn't have a clue what he was saying. What appeared yesterday and again today at the White House? A U-Haul van. Just after Biden left Chicago, left the DNC last night, he headed out on a trip. It is surmised that he will not return to the White House. It is surmised that that is why there was a U-Haul van there yesterday loading up belongings and taking them away from the White House. Now, I don't know for sure. I don't know that for sure, but it is surmised that they're loading up President Biden's belongings and hauling them out of the White House. Okay? I want to show you that. I think it's important to realize. Also, what do you see in the window there? What do you see in the window? It's a ladder. It's a ladder. We don't know why the ladder was there, but there's a ladder there in the window of the White House there. Again, we don't know exactly what is happening there, but we surmise that the van is loading up Joe Biden's belongings, and he's headed out on a trip right now, and he's not going to be coming back for a while. Now, this also is a problem. Who's running the country? It is surmised that Biden won't return to the White House, that Kamala will take over as President of the United States. That is what people think right now. The news media's been talking about it, and yes, I don't believe anything the mainstream media has to say at all. But it's not just the mainstream media. It's his close friends and allies that are part of his administration. They believe that Kamala will take over as the president. Why is that important? Because if Kamala takes over as the president of the United States, what's going to happen once that happens? She becomes the incumbent president. She becomes the incumbent president. So that means President Trump will be fighting uphill battle against incumbent president, a president that already occupies the White House. Okay? Isn't that something? Isn't that something? I want to show you that in the beginning so we would have time to think about it. I want to make sure everybody realizes what's actually going on. Okay? I don't like it. I don't think a lot of people like what's going on at all. But this is what's happening. Okay? It would not surprise me that Camelback will take over the White House after she leaves Chicago later this week. I believe she's supposed to be giving a closing speech to the convention accepting the nomination of president this weekend, or by this weekend. Probably no later than Thursday evening. Expect that. After she leaves the convention, we're not sure what's going to happen. But like I said, it's surmised that Biden won't return to the White House. We shall see. Does anybody have any questions for me? Does anybody have any questions for me? You guys are talking about Rebecca, NCWQ, Worldwide News and Disaster Explorer. Yes, she hasn't been feeling well for the last, I want to almost say, a week. But we appreciate her being here. We appreciate all of you being here with us. Hurricane Heather, one of our main mods, is here. Thank you for being here, Heather. Demon Catman is here. Songstress Griffin is here. We have Ava Brady here from Mississippi. Yay, Ava from Mississippi. Appreciate you here. Anyway, I'm going to get started on this program tonight. I'm going to primarily be discussing what has been happening in the Pacific Northwest. Okay? As I spoke about Saturday and yesterday evening, we had a major earthquake over off the northwest part of the Pacific, just east of the Kamchatka Peninsula. It was a 7.8 earthquake. USGS had downgraded it from a 7.8 to a 7.4 down to a 7.0. That's nearly a full magnitude downgrade. After that, guess what happened? We had a major volcanic eruption. Two volcanoes. Shiveluch erupted up to 35,000 feet high, 5 miles high. Another volcano over there was Kliuchevskoye, also erupted up to about 18,000 feet high. Both of those volcanoes occupy land over on the Kamchatka Peninsula. There are 4 volcanoes over on the Kamchatka Peninsula. 4 volcanoes. 2 of them erupted on Saturday. Okay, that's a big deal. That was a 7.8 magnitude earthquake. Now, why am I concerned about it? Because now scientists are wondering what happened. Scientists are talking about expecting a major megathrust earthquake over on the northwest side of the Pacific. A major megathrust earthquake, a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake over on the northwest side of the Pacific. Just as the USGS and all the rest of us are looking to have a megathrust earthquake over here in the northern Pacific, next to Oregon, Washington, and also Vancouver Island, Canada. Okay? A major megathrust earthquake to happen there. Now, what is going to happen? Everybody's talking about it. The USGS is talking about it. The scientists over from Russia are talking about it, wondering when it's going to happen. That was a 7.8 earthquake. A lot of people over in Russia felt it. A lot of people over on the Kamchatka Peninsula felt it. over 195,000 people over in Kamchatka Peninsula, and a great majority of them felt that earthquake. Even though it was off the coast, a lot of people felt that earthquake. It did a lot of damage. Okay? Now, scientists are wondering what is going to happen next. Are we going to expect a magnitude 9.0 to 10.0 earthquake to strike offshore Kamchatka Peninsula? No one knows. If the answer is yes, then we probably should issue a region-wide earthquake advisory. No, I'm not going to be doing that. Scientists are saying now that this earthquake may not occur for 1,000 years. It may not occur for 1,000 years. It happened once beforehand, about 400 years ago. They're not even sure when it might happen again. But it's going to happen. Now, this strong major earthquake that happened on Saturday is causing a lot of strife and contention among scientists in Russia. Okay? The nearby coastal city of Petropavlovsk, Kamchatka Peninsula, like I said, I said 195, it's 165 people over on the peninsula. Testimonies from the people there in the cities indicate that objects fell off of shelves. They described the experience as scary, terrible, intense, and yes, invigorating. Scary, terrible, intense, and invigorating. It shook them up quite a bit. Now, the earthquake depth and its structural type, the thrust type earthquake, like a megathrust earthquake. The focal mechanisms are consistent with the rupture of the megathrust plate. The megathrust fault that separates the subducting Pacific plate from the overriding obtuse plate. Okay? There's a Sea of Okhotsk on the other side of the Kamchatka Peninsula. The subducting Pacific plate going underneath the obtuse fault plate is interesting. So now we have a possible megathrust earthquake that might happen over in the Kamchatka Peninsula area, as well as another megathrust earthquake over on the northeastern part of the Pacific, over in near Vancouver, Canada, and Seattle, Tacoma area. Okay? The area there over at Kamchatka Peninsula is subducting about 8 centimeters per year. 8 centimeters per year. That's about 3 inches per year. It's actually a pretty fast slip rate. Now, it quickly builds up the stresses that drive the large earthquakes. That slow slip actually builds up stresses that drive the large earthquakes commonly seen in the subduction fault areas as megathrust earthquakes. Notably, this is the same plate boundary that in 2011 produced a 9.1 megathrust earthquake near Tohoku, Oki, Japan. Remember that earthquake over in Japan? Near Fukushima, Japan? A 9.1 earthquake in 2011? Guess what? That is just 2,000 kilometers south of the Kamchatka Peninsula quake. Saturday's earthquake that generated and originated from a near infamous section of this specific megathrust earthquake area is nucleated by another truly 9.0 earthquake, the 1952 Several-Kurilsk earthquake, happening south in the Kuril Islands, south of Kamchatka Peninsula. The scientists are worried over in Russia right now. They're very worried. Miss Constitution Rights says, why don't they stop that machine in Alaska? I thought it was exposed that was causing earthquakes. It has not stopped the earthquakes at all. Miss Constitutional Rights is talking about that great big machine that caused the major earthquakes over in Puerto Rico in December 26th and December 28th, 2019. This machine right there. They're not stopping it. They're not stopping it for a lot of reasons. Please do not put this word in the chat. I do not want to see this word in the chat. I do not want to chance the YouTube channel or YouTube platform that we're on to take me down. Okay? The last time I talked about it and it was thrown up in the chat, I had grief from YouTube. I don't want that to happen. They're not going to stop it. They haven't been stopping it. It's caused major earthquakes over in Puerto Rico. 2 of them in 2019, causing extensive damage, meaning houses and buildings collapsing, and a great big huge sandstone arch, like I said, that was comparable to the sandstone arches in Arches National Park in Utah. Collapsed it. They're not going to stop it. They are not going to stop it. They used that same array over there in Alaska that is causing meteorological or weather phenomena to happen. Okay? They manipulate weather. Weaponized weather, Heather says. That's exactly what they do. We've seen it happen all over the world. We've seen it happen in Hawaii. We've seen it happen in the United States. We've seen it happen in Australia. We've seen it happen in Japan. We've seen it happen over in India. They're using it for weather. They're using it to cause earthquakes. Okay? They're not going to stop it. Now, Miss Constitutional Rights is asking, is Camelback Harris going to do anything? No, she's not. She's a communist. Camelback is a communist. Her father was a Marxist. She's running on the same principles that Biden and Obama have. She's not going to do anything but follow our country and send it down the tubes. If she gets put in as president, we're gone. She's already had 3 years in the White House. She said she's been telling everybody if she is a leader, she's going to do this, that, and the other thing. She's going to reduce prices in stores. She's going to reduce inflation. Really? She's had 3 years in the West Wing, right next to Biden. She's had plenty of opportunity to have some influence on Biden and his decisions. But she has not done anything to stop it. Not a thing. Okay? Not a thing. LL Har is here. Brazil is here. Appreciate you guys here. Ray Spur is here. Ray Spur says he thinks it's interesting that there's 3 large quakes up the western side of the Ring of Fire. Oh yes, it was. Very large earthquakes, 7.0, 7.8s. It's crazy. It's crazy. But again, do I think they're going to do anything about it? No, not at all. Not at all. I have no idea that they're going to do anything. Nobody does. Sweet Polly Purebred says, Ron, at this point, all we can do is ask the Lord Jesus Almighty and God Himself to move back the diadem by 10 years, and maybe, just maybe, we'll have a chance to stop it. I hope so. I certainly hope so. I just don't think it's going to happen. That's my honest opinion. I don't think it's going to happen. I am hoping that we get a president in there besides Camelback to do something about it. That's what I'm praying for. Quite honestly, that's what I'm praying for. Anyway, I want to talk about those earthquakes over in the Kamchatka Peninsula, because now the scientists are worried there about a megathrust earthquake over there. Songster Scriven says that she feels chaos coming on. I agree. If Camelback Harris is put in as president, there will be a civil war. It's almost assured because Camelback and the Democrat Party is planning for a civil war. They're already planning for a civil war. It's not going to be caused by MAGA. If we have a civil war, it's going to be caused by the Communist Party of America. That's what I truly believe. All right, let's continue on from here. I want to show you the slow slip, okay? Everybody's talking about tremors. Everybody's wondering what's going on. Let's talk about the slow slip over in the Pacific Northwest. Then I'm going to show you earthquakes all over the Pacific Northwest today, okay? This is a slow slip map of the Pacific Northwest, like I said. Granted, there's something very unusual about this map. There are earthquakes far up north over next to the southern tip of Vancouver Island. There's more earthquakes over in the Puget Sound area. A lot of earthquakes. Okay? South of there, in Oregon, we have more earthquakes. Then we come further south. I want to show you this, okay? Right here, southern Oregon, Medford, Oregon here. Okay? We have earthquakes northwest of Portland and more earthquakes southwest of Medford and northwest of Medford here. That's pretty typical of what we see over here near Medford, Oregon. Then we come down here to where? Where's this? Mount Lassen and Mount Shasta volcanoes. Slow slip earthquakes. Now each and every one of these slow slip earthquakes are anywhere from a 0.9 microquake to 1.9 2.0 earthquake. Each and every one of these earthquakes here on the slow slip are anywhere from a upper 0.9 microquake all the way down to, all the way up to a 2.0 earthquake. That's what we're seeing here on the slow slip tremor map. 597 earthquakes. 597 earthquakes, with the majority of those over in Vancouver Island and the northwest coast of Washington State. That's a lot of slow slip earthquakes. Now they want us to believe there's nothing else going on. I'm here to tell you there's a lot more going on than they're telling us about. Because they're not telling us anything. They're honestly not telling us squat. I want to go over to Edison Elementary School in Washington. Okay? I'm going to reduce the size of this seismogram just a little bit. Okay? This is Edison Elementary School in Washington State. Look at these tremors. Look at these tremors. After 7:15 this morning on the red line, we have a lot of magma up there. We have a lot of magma that started happening for about 3 minutes. On that same line there at the beginning of that magma signal there, we have some vertical lines. These are tremors. These are all tremors. All of the marks here on this particular seismogram are all tremors here. Edison Elementary School in Washington State. That's where I'm going to start. There's a lot more tremors than what they're saying. Hidalgo Island, Washington here. Look at this. Almost the entire seismogram is filled with tremors. All of these are tremors. Not one of them is a earthquake at all. None of them are 2.0 earthquakes. All of these are tremors. Like I said, there's a lot more tremors than they're saying on that tremor map. Let's continue. Let's go over to Grays Harbor, Canada, Washington State. Look at this. Look at this. This shows a lot of magma that's going over towards Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens. Each of these lines are 15 minutes long. 15 minutes long. Each of these lines are showing thicker and thinner lines here. This is called magma pulse signals. Magma pulse signals. Where we have thicker lines, it indicates more magma going through the magma channel there. You also see here vertical lines through these other lines here. Vertical lines going through the horizontal lines, those are tremors. These are tremors here, caused by magma going towards St. Helens and Mount Rainier. Let's continue. Let's go over to Guaymas Island. Guaymas Island. This is a little bit interesting. These seismograms I'm showing you tonight are all coming from the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. Each one of these seismograms starts off at 5 p.m. Pacific time. 1700 hours over on the top left is 5 p.m. Pacific time. At the top, we are seeing magma here. We're seeing thicker lines and thinner lines called magma pulse signals. These magma pulse signals, you do see some tiny tremors here. Very tiny tremors. Then again, after 9:30 last night, guess what happens? The seismologist turned down the seismograph. The seismologist turned down the seismograph here. After that, there's almost no activity until after 6 a.m. this morning. Almost no activity. If there's activity anywhere on this seismograph after 9:30 last night, it's because the strength of the activity was able to beat it through the turndown of the machine. The strength of the activity caused by magma, primarily in this case, the strength of the activity made it through the turndown of the electronics of the machine. Now, after 6:30 this morning, we saw more and more magma here, more and more tremors here. After 10 a.m. this morning, look at the tremor activity increase. Look at the tremor activity increase, and even after 10:15 this morning on the red line, all of a sudden at 10:03 a.m. this morning, we have a 2.2, 2.3 earthquake. Then after 1 p.m. this afternoon, on the black line here, we have another 2.2, 2.3 earthquake, and 1 minute later another 2.2 earthquake. This is a lot of activity. If the seismologist had left this seismograph alone, we would have seen tremors and possibly earthquakes all night long. I believe, it's my opinion and my opinion only, that the seismologist turned down the seismographs, turned down the machines, the seismographs, turn them down or turn them off during the nighttime hours. That way they don't have to have a seismologist monitoring what is going on. If it's not on paper, it didn't happen, right? That's what I believe is happening here with the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. We've seen this happen a lot, and when we've seen it happen, I've even talked about it. They turned off the seismographs or turned them way down so they're not recording anything after, say, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. That's what we're seeing here. Let's continue on. This is Guaymas Island. Let's go over to Gray Harbor County, Washington. Look at this. Here we're seeing a lot of magma coming into through the magma chamber here, headed for Rainier and Mount St. Helens. The thicker the lines, the more magma coming in through these magma channels. Okay? You also seen tremors all over this seismograph. A lot of tremors. Even after 2 a.m. this morning, we're seeing 2.5, 2.8, 2.9 earthquakes this morning, early this morning. This is a case where they did not turn down the seismograph. Again, we're seeing these thicker lines which are indicative of magma coming through magma channels over here along the coastline of Washington. Grays Harbor, Washington. Let's keep going here. I want to talk about Loomy Island, Washington. Look at this. In this case, again, we see earthquakes happening last night. Earthquakes happening last night after 5 p.m. There is one earthquake that happened on this black line over here towards the right at the top. This is about 5:12, 5:13 p.m. last night. On the blue line at the top, this earthquake happened at approximately 5:34, 5:35 p.m. yesterday evening. And you can see more minor earthquakes here all evening. Then again, nothing happened at all until after 6:30 this morning. All of a sudden, these 2.0 earthquakes popped up again. Over here after 7:30 over on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, this is 7:44 a.m. this morning. Another 2.4, 2.5 earthquake. After 9:43 a.m. this morning, we had another 2.0 earthquake. Then we had more tremors. Over here on this black line this afternoon. This black line here this afternoon is 2 p.m. on the left-hand side. However, we come over to about 2:07 p.m. this afternoon. This is a 2.6, 2.7 earthquake. Then we see more tremors. More tremors. Over here after 2:30 over on the left-hand side, come all the way over here. 2:43 p.m. we see another 2.4 magnitude earthquake. Minor earthquakes and tremors over here, Loomy Island, Washington, northwestern Washington. Okay? Let's keep going. How about Olga Orcas Island, Washington? The slow slip is in very much effect here. Up at the top of the seismogram here, over on the left-hand side here, the left-hand side says 5 p.m., 1700 hours. It says 17 there, it's 1700 hours, which is 5 p.m. military time. We're seeing tremors here. And then we see one earthquake. It appears we had a 3.3 earthquake after this earthquake happened after 1925 yesterday evening, which is 7:35. Yeah, but no, not 7:35. 7:25. 7:25 p.m. yesterday. 7:25 p.m. yesterday. A 3.3 earthquake here. That vertical line in the red is a 3.3 earthquake. Again, this earthquake is not showing up on USGS maps. Heaven forbid they tell us exactly what is going on. The rest of these seismic events here this afternoon are all tremors. These are all tremors here at Orcas Island, Washington. Okay, let's continue. I want to go to Orcas Island Airport. Orcas Island Airport. Look at this. Here we're seeing tremors, but we're also seeing good-sized earthquakes. 2.8, 2.9 earthquakes here. All over here. Last night and this morning. Last night and this morning, working into the sea this afternoon. Okay? Yes, we're seeing 2.4, 2.5 earthquakes. We're seeing a lot of tremors, aren't we? We're also seeing 2.5, 2.7, and 2.8 earthquakes here. Okay? Again, the slow slip is moving. The slow slip is advancing. And they are not even showing all the earthquakes or tremors on these maps. On the tremor map. They're not doing it. How about Payel School? Payel Elementary School. Look at this. These are all tremors. Each and every one of these seismic events are tremors. Payel Elementary School in Washington. Payel, Washington. Let's go over to Port of Walapa Harbor, Washington. The Port of Walapa Harbor, Washington. Up until 2 years ago, we had one other seismogram here to show you, besides this one. It was called Walapa Harbor Golf Course. The Pacific Northwest Seismic Network decided we didn't need to see it. Why? Because the Walapa Harbor Golf Course was showing us earthquakes, not just tremors. Showing us a lot of earthquakes other than tremors. So they shut it down. So Walapa Harbor here is showing us earthquakes. We're seeing plenty of earthquakes. In this case, we're seeing tons of tremors. Tons and tons of tremors here. Tons and tons of tremors. I would dare say there's 75 tremors here. 75 tremors here. Okay? Isn't that interesting? Let's go up to Nassau, Washington. Radar Ridge. I want to show you this because it's important. We have never seen this kind of activity in Nassau, Washington. Radar Ridge, Nassau, Washington. We've never seen this before. We've seen it on other seismograms, though, but not this here, not where we're at now. This is a lot of tremor activity. Wall to wall, side to side, top to bottom. This is a lot of tremor activity. Down at the bottom, we're seeing some earthquakes, though. Down at the bottom, this is after 1:15 p.m. this afternoon. This is actually happening at about 1:20 p.m. this afternoon. And again at 1:21 p.m. this afternoon. Earthquakes. 2.4, 2.5 earthquakes this afternoon. The rest of this activity is all tremor activity. All of it. Pam Miller says it's dizzy there. Or she says she'd be dizzy there. This has been going on for quite some time, but never here. I'm going to show you some seismograms a little bit later that show a lot of activity, a ton of activity. Let's go over to Pacific County, Washington, the NEMA site. Look at this. We're showing you the exact same kind of activity over here at NEMA in Washington. Wall to wall, top to bottom tremors, except for at the very bottom. There is one, maybe 1.8, 1.9 tremor at the very bottom on the black line. And you can see it. This is a lot of activity, a lot of tremors. They said that there's only 597 tremors on the tremor map. Guess what? I think they're wrong. Why? Because I've just showed you two seismograms full of tremors. Full. Top to bottom, side to side. There's no way that we have just less than 600 tremors over there on the slow slip map. Not going to happen. There's a lot more happening than they're talking about. A lot more. Let's keep going here. I want to show you one more seismogram showing the slow slip tremors. This is at the Tioga Law Enforcement Group for the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife in Washington State. Look at this. Again, this is along the coastline of Washington. A lot of tremors, right? They absolutely are. But they're not showing us all the tremors, are they? There's probably over 100 tremors right here today, maybe a little bit more. This is what I'm talking about. They are not being honest with us at all. They never will be. They're not going to be, never will be. Let me go over and show you earthquakes now. Starting with Mount Baker up towards the north, just south of the Canadian border. This is Mount Baker. This is the main seismogram from Mount Baker. MBW2. MBW2. All we are seeing on this particular seismogram is just one, and I'm going to emphasize one. Why? This is just showing you one. Steam signal. One steam signal. As you see on this seismogram, it does not have a center. There's no dot in the middle of this seismic signal here. This is a steam signal. Mount Baker up just south of the Canadian border is steaming. It's steaming. Now I'm going to show you another seismogram right now. It's going to show you a lot more activity at Mount Baker. I'm going to show you Baker-Shuckson, the ski resort at Mount Baker. Again, side to side, top to bottom, tremor activity. Side to side, top to bottom, tremor activity. This is a ski resort at Mount Baker. The main seismogram doesn't show it, does it? The main seismogram doesn't show you hardly any activity. In this case, we had to go to a simple, separate seismogram. Shuckson, ENZ. Shuckson, ENZ. This particular seismogram is showing you all the activity. All this is tremor activity. At the very bottom on the red line towards the right. That is the only, really the only part of the seismic activity that's happened here that's more than just a tremor. That's probably either a 1.9 tremor to a 2.0 earthquake. And up above there, there's other tremors here as well. But again, this is at Mount Baker. For weeks and weeks now, the seismograms at Mount Baker were devoid of activity. That means the agency either turned off the seismograph or they turned it way down. Because we actually had no information at all about Mount Baker. Mount Baker is a full-blown stratovolcano just south of the Canadian border in Washington State. I'm going to show you one other one. This next one is Mount Baker, but this time it's going to be the VLF channel. the UHF VLF channel, high frequency radio waves, low frequency radio waves. Look at this. See these wavy lines? This is activity, magma coming into the magma chamber here at Mount Baker. This is a lot of activity. The wavy lines are caused by magma coming into the magma channel at Mount Baker. There is a lot of activity. Just like we showed you on the last seismograph, there's a lot of activity. Mount Baker is getting ready to erupt as well. Mount Baker is steaming. I can truly say it's steaming. I've got pictures from many of you showing me that Mount Baker is steaming. Most of these volcanoes are steaming. Now I want to show you one other volcano that's south of here. 40 miles south and west of Mount Baker, we come to another volcano called Mount Constitution. Mount Constitution. Look at this activity here. Now I could not show you the main seismogram from Mount Constitution because they have basically turned off the seismogram. Turned it off. There's no activity on the seismogram at all. Why? Because the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network and the United States Geological Survey do not want anybody to see it. Plain and simple. But if you look at this, there's plenty of activity happening. These are tremors. Lots and lots of tremors here at Mount Constitution. Usually we don't show you any because they don't show anything here. But again, I'm getting a different seismogram here. It's a multi-channel seismograph. I'm getting a different seismogram to show you what's going on. Okay? Let's keep going. I'm going from Mount Constitution south to Glacier Peak. Glacier Peak. This again is about 32 miles south of Mount Constitution. 32 miles south of Mount Constitution. Look this. This is the most activity we've seen ever at Glacier Peak. This is the most activity we've ever seen at Glacier Peak. Yes, there are tremors here, but there's also full-blown earthquakes. 2.2, 2.5, 2.6, and 2.7 earthquakes. Minor earthquakes. Glacier Peak, guys. Glacier Peak. We may never see this again. And believe you me, I'm going to search for it. Glacier Peak is a very powerful volcano. A very powerful volcano. After the Cascade megathrust earthquake happened 324 years ago, there was a sailor out to sea. He said either Glacier Peak or Mount Rainier was erupting at the time of the earthquake. Look at this. This proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Glacier Peak is capable of erupting as well. This is an awful lot of activity at Glacier Peak. Diane Kelman says that the seismogram I just showed you a few minutes ago showed a lot of seismic waves all over the place. It looked like sound waves, didn't it? They were VLF radio waves. VLF, very low frequency radio waves caused by magma coming into the volcano. They were radio waves. Very low frequency radio waves caused by magma coming into the magma chamber of that volcano. And we're going to see that again in a few minutes. This time at a different volcano. Let's go over to Mount Rainier. South of Mount Rainier. I want to show you this. This is cool. Let's go to Camp Sherman. Camp Sherman. Camp Sherman is up near the summit level of the volcano on the south side of Mount Rainier. Near the summit level of Mount Rainier, down on the south side of Mount Rainier. Up at the top level here, let me increase the size of this seismogram. Okay? Up at the top here, this would be 1700 hours yesterday, 5 p.m. 5 p.m. This black line would have it be about 5:04 p.m. Pacific time. This would be a 3.0 earthquake. We don't see the upper part of this earthquake because it would have been off the paper on the previous seismogram. A 3.3 earthquake. 3.03 earthquake. We see tremors here. We're also seeing the other phenomenon, again, over here on the left-hand side after after 3 a.m. Approximately 3:05 this morning, we had a steam signal. Yeah, it's similar to what we would have as an earthquake, but this does not have a dot in the middle of it. That is a steam signal. That is a steam signal. Further over to the right, about a minute and a half later, we have another steam signal. This time we have a curlicue on it. The upper level vertical lines that have curlicues are most definitely a steam signal. The other vertical lines without a dot in the middle of them, those are also steam. Now, right next to it to the right next to that steam signal with the curlicue on it, to the right of that, we have another magma churn signal. A magma churn signal. The magma churn signals are typically 23 to 24 lines high. 23 to 24 lines high. Let's count the number of lines this steam signal has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines high. This is just shy of being 1/3 of a great big huge earthquake. But it's not. This seismogram is only showing us less than 1/3 of what it should be. Meaning the seismologists that put this seismogram up so we can see it had turned down the seismograph to where it's not showing us much of anything. The magma churn signal should be showing us less than 1/3 of what it should be because the seismograph was turned down. The seismograph was turned down. That vertical line to the left of this magma churn signal could have been a much larger earthquake. If we multiplied times 3 of that turn down of 1/3 of what it should be, that would mean that that earthquake to the left would possibly have been a 3.5 to 3.4 earthquake. Look at these other steam signals and earthquakes here. Again, if you have a vertical line without a dot in the middle of it, that's just a steam signal. The other earthquakes with a dot on them are earthquakes. The other vertical lines with a dot in them are earthquakes. Mount Rainier is steaming. Mount Rainier is steaming. Now, some people wonder why a volcano is steaming. Now, I'm going to take this seismogram down for just a minute. I want to show you why these volcanoes are steaming. Okay? A volcano has magma coming up inside of it, doesn't it? A volcano has magma coming up inside it. That magma is coming up here and hammering away at a volcanic rock, which is a plug of the volcano. The magma is coming up through the magma channel of that volcano, hammering away at that magma plug above it. As that magma is hammering away on that plug, it's causing that plug to shatter. It's causing that plug to shatter. Imagine my fingers being separated by lava coming up here, or steam. My hand here is simulating a lava plug. A lava plug in the volcano since the volcano last erupted. The lava pounding on that plug is causing those fissures to open up, tiny holes in the rock to open up. As that hot steam from the magma is coming up through those holes, the hot steam is also enlarging those holes even larger. The hot steam is enlarging those holes even larger. This is a simple science lesson. Okay? Magma is hammering on that rock, causing tiny fissures and holes to open up in that lava plug. Steam from the magma is being released. 6 to 7% of all magma is water. 6 to 7% of all magma is water. So when that steam comes up through the holes in that plug, it enlarges those holes. Once at some point in time, those holes are going to enlarge only so much. Then that lava plug will be flown literally off the volcano, and there will be lava flowing out of the volcano. There's going to be an eruption. I just showed you how it's going to happen. Now, it doesn't always happen that way. Back in 1980, March 1980, Mount St. Helens erupted. But when Mount St. Helens erupted, it came out from the side of the volcano. The lava came out through the side of the volcano. The side of the volcano had already been developing a bulge. The side of the volcano was very thin. And when so much pressure opened up, it pushed out the side of that volcano and out of the top of it as well. Mount St. Helens lost the top of its structure of the volcano. Mount St. Helens is a lot shorter than it used to be. Okay? It's blowing out. It's blowing out. Mount Rainier, actually, we can go all through those volcanoes up to the north, from Baker on the north, going down there to Constitution, Glacier Peak, Mount Rainier, and Mount St. Helens. We're showing you a lot of activity. A lot of activity. It's getting ready to go. And at some time it will. At some point in time it will blow out. Okay? Again, on this same seismogram, let's take another look at it. Okay? That magma insurance signal is only 7 lines high. That means that this seismogram is only showing us 1/3 of what it should be. So when we see these earthquakes, you have to imagine that these earthquakes are a lot larger than they're showing here. Okay? That's what's happening here. And again, this is Mount Rainier, Camp Sherman, over on the top south side of Mount Rainier. Let's pull another seismogram here. Now, I want to show you Mount Rainier, Camp Muir. Camp Muir is over on the north side of the volcano. It's on the upper north side of Mount Rainier. Look at this. This is the HHN channel. The HHN channel. What do we know about the HHN channel? This HHN channel is showing us magma coming into the volcano again. These wavy lines here. These wavy lines are indicating magma coming through the magma chamber of this volcano. We're already seeing earthquakes here as well in this particular seismograph. Earthquakes and tremors. Over here on this blue line just after midnight last night. This blue line would be over on the left, 12:30 this morning. Right here we are probably at 12:40 a.m. this morning. We're seeing a 3.2, 3.3 earthquake happen here at Mount Rainier early this morning. We're also seeing tremors happening here. We're also seeing minor earthquakes happening here. We're also seeing these wavy lines indicating magma coming into the magma chamber here at Mount Rainier. Okay? Let's keep on going here. Okay, that was the HHN channel at Camp Muir. Let's go over to the HHZ channel. See all these tremors here? Mount Rainier is moving. We are seeing tremors here, literally all day long. Even last night after 12:30 this morning. We have indicators of magma coming into the magma chamber here. Yes, they turned it down again. We're seeing evidence of them turning down the seismographs so they don't show anything. They turn down the seismographs. Seismograph is a machine, the seismogram is a paper, the graph. Turning down the seismograph so we're not seeing what we should be. Then come morning time, they turn it back up. That's what's happening here. We're seeing the tremors late last night from 5 p.m. until midnight. They turn it down, and then all of a sudden, when they come back in this morning, they turn the seismograph back up. And we'll instantly see 2.3, 2.4 earthquakes and tremors. More and more magma coming into the magma chamber here as well. We see thicker lines and thinner lines. These are magma pulse signals. Magma pulse signals. Okay? That's what's happening. Hurricane Heather says she's okay. Hurricane Heather sometimes has issues with the seismograms because they tend to make her feel nauseous. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. Let's continue here. Going back to Mount St. Helens, just for a minute. I want to go over to the source of Smith Creek. The source of Smith Creek. This is a seismograph from the source of Smith Creek. This is just east of Mount St. Helens. Look what we're seeing here. Earthquakes, long duration earthquakes caused by magma here. Long duration earthquakes caused by magma. Okay? We haven't seen this happen at Mount St. Helens in a very, very long time. About 3 years ago. 3 years ago. When I saw this seismogram, I'm going, oh, everybody's going to love this one. This is a lot of activity at Mount St. Helens. Let me show you where the source of Smith Creek is. This is the map showing where Mount St. Helens is and where the source of Smith Creek is. It's just to the northeast of Mount St. Helens, near Spirit Lake. Okay, that's where that is. Mount St. Helens is moving. Mount St. Helens is moving. There is a lot of magma down there. There's a ton of magma down there. Okay? Now, let's go back here to Mount Rainier. I want to show you the HHN channel from Emerald Ridge. Emerald Ridge, Mount Rainier. Look at this. What have we told you about the wavy lines here? The HHN channel. The HHN channel, again, is showing us magma coming into the magma chamber of, in this case, Mount Rainier. This is why we're seeing these activity on these other seismographs. The wavy lines here is incoming magma into Mount Rainier. Every day. Every day. Sometimes it's not as active as this. Sometimes it's even more active, completely covering the entire seismograph. Mount Rainier is very active. We're also seeing this earthquake here. See this earthquake over here towards the center lower part of the right side of your screen? This happened just after 8:12 a.m. this morning. 8:12 a.m. this morning, we have a 3.0 earthquake. 3.0 earthquake. We have a lot of tremors here, don't we? We surely do. Mount Rainier is getting ready to erupt. Mount Rainier is getting ready to erupt. I showed you Mount St. Helens. Mount St. Helens is also getting ready. It's getting ready in a big way. Let's look over at September Lobe. September Lobe is a seismograph sitting on top of Mount St. Helens. It's sitting up on the summit of Mount St. Helens, on top of that great big huge lava rock that was there after the last eruption. September Lobe is a seismograph sitting up there on the top of that volcanic plug. It's showing us a lot of wavy lines, isn't it? Mount St. Helens is getting ready to erupt. Very low frequency waves here, caused by magma coming into this magma chamber. Diane Cummins says, sound waves? Yes. This is sound waves caused by magma coming into the magma chamber. Very low frequency sound waves. Inaudible sound waves. Incredible, huh? That is incredible. Mount Rainier is getting ready to move. It hasn't moved for at least, I want to say, 11 years. It erupted last in 2003. It was less an eruption than it had in 1980. But the last time Mount St. Helens erupted was over 11 years ago. It's getting ready to erupt again. Pat C., thanks for joining us here. We appreciate you. We appreciate you being here. Okay, I showed you Mount Rainier, I showed you Mount St. Helens. This is a lot of information, isn't it? You probably didn't expect to see that, did you? Well, guess what? There is another seismogram just right next to Mount St. Helens I want to show you. This is Walla, Washington. Look at this. Again, we have not seen these kinds of seismograms for years. Possibly because I have not been showing you seismograms every week, like I was. I was showing you seismograms twice a week before. Now I'm lucky to show you seismograms from the Pacific Northwest on a weekly basis. I'm trying, but I'm not doing that. I believe the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network is letting us see these seismograms because I have not been vigilant showing you seismograms. Otherwise, the Pacific Northwest Network has cut us off. They've not allowed us to see seismograms like this in a very long time. This is the way every day we were seeing seismographs every day here at Mount St. Helens, every day at Mount Rainier, every day at Mount Hood. Always. Always. Look at this. This is a lot of activity. This is Walla, Washington. H-O-A-L-A. H-O-A-L-A. Let me show you where Walla, Washington is. I've got a map. See this? This is over on the north side of Mount St. Helens. Walla, Washington. Mount St. Helens is getting ready to erupt. I've shown you the proof of it. I've shown you the proof of it. Diana Kelman says, thank you, but a lot of YouTube videos like this, like it is going to blow tomorrow, it's not. Mount St. Helens may not blow tonight, may not blow tomorrow, but it will erupt at some point in time very soon. I don't think it's getting ready to blow tonight or tomorrow, but it's going to blow at some point in time. If you're seeing these YouTube channels saying it's going to blow tomorrow, it's clickbait. Don't even watch those channels. Those channels don't have enough information to prove what they're saying. They want to get everybody excited to watch their channel, to get more and more people watching it, so they can claim, oh, look at our channel, it's growing. That's because they're lying to the public. Don't go for it. Don't go for it. Even the political channels that are out there that sometimes I take a look at, they're not worth it. The political channels also lie to us. We've got to go and sort through the information. Don't believe everything you're saying. Don't believe everything you're saying. Okay? Let's drop down to Mount Hood. I'm actually looking forward to showing you Mount Hood. Okay? First, let's go over and show you Timberline. Timberline is over at Government Camp on the south lower side of Mount Hood. Okay? It's on the south side of Mount Hood, on the lower level of Mount Hood. Okay? Up at the top last night, we're seeing some tremors, aren't we? We're also seeing some magma coming into the magma chamber. Magma pulse signals. Thicker lines and thinner lines and thicker again. Magma pulse signals causing earthquakes. Vertical lines going through these lines, these horizontal lines showing you tremors and earthquakes. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. But this morning, after they turned down the seismograph all night long, after they turned down the machine all night long, they came back this morning and turned it up. Instantly, almost instantly this morning, we see earthquakes. Tremors and earthquakes here. Now these, I don't believe, were 3.0 earthquakes at all. The earthquakes we saw just after 8 a.m. this morning were 2.8, 2.7, 2.8 earthquakes. You can see what I'm talking about here on this, after the 8 o'clock line on the black line here this morning. 2.7, 2.8 earthquakes. Yes, we see some smaller ones, 2.0 as well. And we're seeing some tremors. On the blue line, we're seeing 2.0 earthquakes. 2.0 earthquakes and tremors. After that, after 8 a.m. this morning, until 3:15 this afternoon on the red line at the bottom, all we're seeing are tremors. All we're seeing here are tremors. Yes, we're seeing magma pulse signals coming in as well. There is still magma coming into this volcano, Mount Hood. But this isn't the only one we're going to show you tonight. There's a lot more here to show you than that, just this one at Mount Hood. I want to show you Palmer Lift. Palmer Lift goes up the south side of Mount Hood. Palmer Lift is a ski resort lift. It's a ski resort lift here at the south side of Mount Hood. Look here. All we've seen after last evening at 5 p.m. last evening are tremors. Then, near the bottom of this seismogram on the right-hand side, look at this. Look at this. After 12:15. After 12:15 here. Approximately 12:18 this afternoon. 3.0 earthquake. 3:21 this afternoon. I'm sorry, 12:21 this afternoon. Another 3.0 earthquake. 12:18 and 12:21 p.m. this afternoon. 3.0 earthquakes. All the rest of this seismic activity is nothing but tremors. Nothing but tremors here at Palmer Lift. Palmer Lift, ladies and gentlemen. Let's continue here. Let's go to the north side of Mount Hood. Let's go over to Barrett Spur. Look at this. Good old Barrett Spur. Again, these are the kind of seismograms we saw up until 3 years ago, when the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network started turning off the seismographs, or turning them down. Constant tremors. Constant tremors. Hours go by. Literally hours go by here. Look at that. From 8 p.m. last evening. 8 p.m. last evening till after 2 a.m. this morning. A lot of tremors happened. Okay? 6 hours of tremors. 6 hours of tremors constantly. Then after that, this morning, after about 2:15 this morning, they started calming down. There's not as many, and they're not as strong as they were earlier. We're still seeing tremors. We're also seeing an earthquake here. This earthquake happened after 10:40 a.m. this morning. 3.0 earthquake at 10:40 this morning. We're also seeing after that, to the bottom right, on the red line, we're seeing a 2.0 earthquake here. Barrett Spur to the north of Mount Hood today. Yes, we've been seeing these for years, and then all of a sudden, 3 years ago, they started not showing us any activity, and in fact, they've been scrubbing activity off the seismographs ever since. Falsifying data. Falsifying data. I thought that's a felony. I thought falsifying data was a felony. I still believe it is. Okay? Let's keep going here. I've shown you Barrett Spur. I showed you Timberline. Well, let's go over to Tom, Dick, and Harry. Tom, Dick, and Harry is a volcano unto itself. It is northwest of Mount Hood. Tom, Dick, and Harry. It's actually a lake. Tom, Dick, and Harry. The peak of this volcano is, however, on line with Mount Hood. The peak of the volcano itself is in line with Mount Hood. All we're seeing here are tremors until this afternoon. This afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, guess what? What happened? After 2:15 this afternoon, we had another earthquake. 2:18 p.m., we had another earthquake. This time it was a 3.0. 3.0, 30 seconds later, we have a 2.8. Yes, a bunch of tremors as well. Tremors caused by magma coming into the volcano. Tremors caused by magma fracturing the rock inside the volcano, causing earth movement. Happens every day. Literally all day long. That's Mount Hood. Let's drop down to Bachelor Volcano. Good old Bachelor Volcano. Oh, darn it. Well, I'm going to go back here into my data here, and I'm going to try to pull that information once again. Sorry about that. For some reason, Bachelor Volcano information didn't come up on my database, but I'm going to show it to you in just a second here. But again, we haven't seen this kind of activity at these volcanoes in quite some time. We haven't been seeing this activity at most of these volcanoes in a very long time. Tonight, I'm going to show you this activity. Tonight, I'm going to show you this activity. It's fun. A lot of activity. For years now, Bachelor Volcano has not been showing us much of anything at all. Not anything. But tonight, I want to tell you what's going on. Because Bachelor Volcano is moving. It's moving in a big way. This is Bachelor Volcano. For a long time, they shut down the seismograph at Bachelor. They were not allowing us to see anything. It was constantly just nothing there. Nothing at all. No activity whatsoever. They shut down the seismograph. Look at this today. They've reopened the seismograph and now we're seeing a lot of activity. Almost constant tremor activity since they turned it on late last night. Constant tremor and earthquake activity. At the bottom you can see, in the blue line here at the very bottom, you can see constant activity. It did not stop. Constant color blue here. It did not stop. Mostly this is nothing but tremors. But I fear here at Bachelor Volcano, they were also seeing some minor earthquakes as well. Minor earthquakes, not just tremors. I want to show you another couple seismographs here before we leave. I want to go over to Sisters Volcano now. Then we're going to talk about Newberry, and then we're going down to Crater Lake. But Sisters Volcano is important here. Right here. This again is more activity than we've seen at Sisters Volcanoes in some time. Now, folks, Sisters Volcano is very real. There's actually 3 volcanoes here. 3 separate and distinct volcanoes here at the Sisters Complex. Sisters North, Sisters Central, and Sisters South. 3 different volcanoes, and they're only covered by one seismograph. 3 different volcanoes, and they're only covered by one seismograph, which is stupid. Each volcano should have its own seismograph and should have many seismographs. Most of these volcanoes that we've been talking about have anywhere from 6 to 10 seismographs completely surrounding the volcano. Sisters volcano only has one to cover all three volcanoes. Look at this at the top. The top of this starts off at 5 p.m. yesterday evening. Tons of tremors. Tons and tons of tremors. You see these horizontal lines almost completely blocked out by the color. That's because the tremor activity and the magma is completely obliterating the seismograph. The magma and the tremor activity is completely obliterating the seismograph. Look at it. Except for a couple instances, all of this is tremors. Except for a couple instances, maybe 3, all this is tremor activity. All this is tremor activity. Up at the top left on the blue line, 2.0 earthquake. 2.0 earthquake. Then we come down here on the black line. This one is after 8 a.m. About 8:10, 8:11 a.m. this morning, another 2.0 earthquake. But this 2.0 earthquake is after we've had a little bit of magma coming into the magma chamber. Then about a minute or so later, we have another 2.0 earthquake. 2.0 earthquake. This earthquake lasts about 8 to 10 seconds. Shaking. Nobody's living on or near Sisters Volcano. Nobody felt this activity. It's just minor earthquakes. Nothing but minor earthquakes. Nobody felt this earthquake activity. But this is what's happening at Sisters Volcanic Complex. Okay? Let's go over to Newberry Volcano now. Newberry Volcano is active. Newberry Volcano is very active. Look at this. Just like some of the seismograms I've been showing you, it's earthquake time. Earthquake time. Back to back, side to side, top to bottom earthquakes here. Earthquakes and tremors. Earthquakes and tremors here. Look at that. This is the kind of activity we had years ago. And all of a sudden it's coming back, maybe because the agency is allowing us to see it. Maybe because the agency is actually allowing us to see it. About a year and a half ago, Newberry Volcano here, which is actually the pumice cone here at Newberry Volcano, was about ready to blow. USGS issued a yellow volcanic advisory at Newberry Volcano because they thought this pumice cone was going to erupt. There was that much activity. So far, they're not issuing a volcanic advisory here. Maybe they should be, I don't know. But this is a lot of activity at Newberry Volcano. A ton of it. A ton of it. Okay? Richard Smith is saying another 2.6 over on the island of Hawaii, probably just southeast of Kilauea, over in the Fern Forest area. Would not surprise me. The richest YouTube channel says the West Coast is moving at least a foot a week. No, it's not. It's not moving a foot a week. It's moving 2 or 3 centimeters a week. Moving about an inch, inch and a half a week. That's all. It's not moving a foot a week at all. If it was, we would have real problems, huge problems. We would be facing huge earthquakes all the time. Cali is not moving a foot a day. It's not. I know that for a fact. I've been watching it. It's not moving any more than 2 or 3 centimeters a day. Yes, there's a lot of earthquake activity, a lot of tremor activity, granted, but it's not moving a foot every day. It's just not. If you put that on your YouTube channel, you need to take it down because it's not happening. It's not happening. Richard Smith says another 4.3 earthquake near Kalimantan, Indonesia, central Indonesia. Okay? Again, that is an awful lot of activity at Newberry Volcano. Let's go south to Crater Lake. I want to go take a look at Crater Lake now. I want to go over to the northeast side of Crater Lake. This is Cleetwood Cove. This is seismograph over at Cleetwood Cove on the northeast end of Crater Lake. Crater Lake is very active, guys. Regardless of what the seismogram says, they are either deleting or erasing information. Crater Lake is expanding. At the top of Crater Lake, they have a rim around the volcano. At the bottom of the rim, there's a caldera. On top of that caldera, there is a lake, hundreds of feet deep. The rim of the volcano is holding the water in Crater Lake. It's an alpine lake. At some point in time, that volcano is going to blow. Crater Lake is not anywhere near ready to erupt. However, it is having earthquakes. It is having tremors, as you can see. Earthquakes so far have not been anything above a 2.7, 2.8 minor earthquakes. And you can see that down at the bottom left here today on this seismograph. 2.8, 2.9 earthquakes, not quite a 3.0. And no, the seismogram did not phase anybody at USGS because they didn't even report this earthquake today. But a 2.8, 2.9 that could have been felt over at Crater Lake here. Okay? That happened at about, I want to say 2:07 p.m. 2:07 p.m. today. All the rest of these activity here are tremors and minor earthquakes. Tremors and 2.0, 2.3 earthquakes. Okay? That's Cleetwood Cove. One other seismogram I want to show you, and then we'll get out of here. The other seismogram I want to show you is at the bunkhouse. At the bottom center of, not the bottom, I'm sorry, that's a bad word. Over at the south central part of Crater Lake, the bunkhouse. Look at this, guys. Again, this is what we used to see all the time at each of these seismograms, on each of these seismograms, all day long, every day. This is the first time we're seeing this here at Crater Lake in a very long time. Tremors, nothing more than tremor activity. Yes, you can see the stylus moving all over this seismogram. You can see the stylus moving all over the seismogram. We're still seeing nothing more than tremors here. Okay? This is Crater Lake. Crater Lake. Again, how's that happening? The magma is coming into the volcano. The magma is coming into the volcano. The magma is coming in under force, under power. A lot of power. And as a result, we're seeing fracturing rock causing the tremors and earthquakes. Fracturing rock inside the volcanic chamber causing tremors and earthquakes. That's what's happening here. And that's what's happening at all of the volcanoes, all up and down the Cascade Mountain Range. It's a fact. It's a fact. 2 more stops, and then we'll call it a night. I want now to go down to Shasta Volcano, Northern California. Look at this. This is a different kind of seismogram. This one is from the U.S. Geological Survey. Anytime you see these horizontal, not horizontal, but these vertical seismographs that are blue in color, they come from the USGS. Yes, we are seeing earthquakes at Mount Shasta. Good-sized earthquakes. 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes at Mount Shasta. We don't have anything more to do than go over here on the right-hand side of this seismograph. This is after 9:30 p.m. This is about 9:40, what should I say, 9:44 p.m. The top and the bottom of this seismic sequence have been cut off, drastically cut off. I believe this earthquake was at least a 3.0, 3.5 earthquake at Mount Shasta last night. Again, they're cutting it off. That earthquake started at about 9:40, actually not 9:40, 9:28, 9:29 last night. It continued over at 9:45 last night. We still see that earthquake hitting. Again, a 3.5 earthquake at least. Okay? A 3.5 earthquake. Yes, we're seeing some 2.8, one other 2.8 earthquake here yesterday evening. That earthquake happened, and you see a red vertical line here near the top of your seismogram here. This happened at about 6:05, 6:06 last night. Okay, 2.8 earthquake. All the rest of these are tremors except for this large earthquake that you see in red. By the way, the red lines are computer generated to get the seismologist's attention. Hey, something happened here you need to see. Look what happened this morning here at Mount Shasta. The same kind of earthquakes. Same size of earthquakes here. The tops and the bottom have been cut off. Now, I want to start off this discussion here at Mount Shasta. This happened at approximately 8:30 this morning. Or actually not 8:30, but about 8:42 this morning. Start off with tremors. Within a minute, it was actually at a 2.0 earthquake, minor earthquake. Then within 45 seconds, it built up to full-blown 3.5 earthquake probably, maybe larger. It happened there. The earthquake lasted over a minute and a half. The good-sized earthquake lasted over a minute and a half. It built up from tremors over on the left-hand side. It ended with tremors over on the right-hand side. Secondary wave over on the right-hand side. The primary wave is in the red here. The primary wave is in the red. Now, we drop down here to after 11 a.m. this morning. At about 11:08, 11:09 a.m. this morning, we had a similar situation here. Again, they cut off the top and the bottom of all these quakes. These quakes were at least 3.0, 3.5 quakes, at least. Mount Shasta, guys. Mount Shasta. Heather probably felt some of this activity. She lives over by Shasta and Lassen. Okay? She can see Shasta and Lassen both from her house. She probably felt the shaking. Jessica Joy Family's asking Heather when she started seeing steam. Mount Shasta and Mount Lassen have both been steaming for a very long time. Okay? Heather says Shasta steams a lot. And yes, she feels the shaking. There's 5 earthquakes here that shook this area. 5 earthquakes today that shook Mount Shasta today. That's incredible. That's incredible. Let's drop down to Mount Lassen. Mount Lassen is the last seismogram we're going to see today. Mount Lassen is also very, very active. You almost can't get any more active than Lassen and Shasta. Not going to happen. Now I thought I had Lassen here. Just a second. Well, this is dumb. I know for a fact that I've had Lassen and Shasta here. Just a second. I'll bring it up. I'll find it and bring it up. Here it is. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, this is Mount Lassen. This seismogram here is Mount Lassen. I'm shortening this so you can see this seismogram here, and then I'll enlarge this. The LDB that you're seeing here at the top is an identifier for the seismograph. It's a seismograph identifier. Okay? Look what we're seeing here. The top of this seismogram started yesterday evening. Okay? 5 p.m., 5:30 up to the top. Each horizontal line is showing magma pulse signals. Magma entering the magma chamber of this volcano. Yes, we are seeing earthquakes here. The first one you see over on the right-hand side is after 8:30 this evening, or I'm sorry, not this evening, yesterday evening. Okay, this happened after approximately 6:43 yesterday evening. This was a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. The next one we see here is after 9 p.m. on the black line here. This is about 9:09 p.m. last night. You see these vertical lines with curlicues. These vertical lines with curlicues are all steam signals. Each and every one of these vertical lines, whether it has a curlicue or not, or just a straight line with no dot in the middle of it, those are steam signals. Mount Lassen is steaming all over the place. You see these red lines are also generated by the computer, getting the seismologist's attention. Mount Lassen is steaming all over the place. Yes, we're seeing magma coming into this magma chamber, and you can see this happening on the horizontal lines here. You get down here this evening. Folks, I just got notified that my broadcast software stopped and then restarted again. So if you saw a bump there, it was the software doing that. Anyway, what you're seeing here on this seismogram today, this afternoon, are magma churn signals. I'm sorry, not magma churn signals, magma pulse signals. Magma coming into the magma chamber here, where there's a lot of magma and then there's less magma. The lines get thinner and thicker here. Magma pulse signals. You're also seeing earthquakes here. You're also seeing earthquakes. Earthquakes are happening because the magma is fracturing rock inside the volcano. You're also seeing a whole plethora of steam coming from Mount Lassen. This is what's going on. This is what's happening. Hurricane Heather says, after these graphs, I need to go, fam. Heather, I'm sorry these graphs upset you. Whether it's mentally or physically, I'm sorry. God bless you, Heather. I consider Heather a sister of mine. Carol and I love Heather to pieces. We love each and every one of you guys. Do you guys have any questions about anything we've shown you tonight? We talked a lot about things. We talked about politics here in the United States because of the Democrat National Convention being held in Chicago. Protesting is still happening. So far, no one's been hurt, I don't think. I'm hearing that Chicago police have arrested hundreds of people as a result of what's been going on. That is probably going to go on the rest of the week. The Palestinian protesters and the anti-government protesters are out there causing problems. They always will be. They're communists. They're communists. They don't know how to be peaceful. Demon Catman saying you can send your questions, suggestions, information, or complaints to my email address, rltnspdema@gmail.com. Folks, we could still use your donations here to keep this program on the air. We've got our PayPal location set up as well. 2 PayPal locations and a Venmo location set up now, where you can send us donations through our PayPal or Venmo. You can also send it to our mailbox. Our mailbox is 104 North Green Street, 104 North Green Street in Morganton, North Carolina, 104 North Green Street, box 105, 104 North Green Street, box 105, Morganton, North Carolina. The zip code is 28655. We appreciate that. We really appreciate that. That means the world to me and my wife. Send us cards and letters. We'd love to get cards and letters from you. Up until we moved to Morganton, actually even after about a year or so moving to Morganton, we received a lot of cards and letters, and all of a sudden they dropped off. Now that might be financial. It might not be, or might be some people not having the money to do it. And I can appreciate that. Karen and I really appreciate that. We know what you're talking about. But we would still love to see cards and letters and donations inside the cards and letters. That would help us along keeping this program on the air. We love and appreciate each one of you. We appreciate you sharing this program far and wide, worldwide. Share it to all your friends, your neighbors, your loved ones, your family and extended family. With your social media contacts, share this program. There's nothing here that someone might be offended by seeing. Share it also to the people you work with. Share it to the people you work with. Yesterday we got to 5,692, I think it was 5,692 subscribers to the program. I love that. It's not about subscribers, folks. It's about getting this information out to save lives. The more subscribers we have, the idea is to save lives here. Getting the information out so we can save lives. That's why we're here. I really appreciate each one of you. You guys make my heart beat. You really do. Skip Kelly says, Heather, he lives closer to Lassen and Shasta also, southwest of Alturas, California. It's unreal. It's unreal. We're glad to have you here. We're very glad to have you here. Now, folks, I usually leave you with a spiritual thought. I like reading from the scriptures and sharing ideas with you. The scriptures here give me great ideas and great peace. There's a reason. Because God talks to us. God talks to us. Over in the 16th chapter of Revelations, verses 18, 19, 20, and 21. Verse 18. And there were voices, and thunders, and lightnings. And there was a great earthquake, such as was not seen since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake, and so great. And the great city was divided into 3 parts. And the cities of the nations fell. And great Babylon came in remembrance before God, to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. And there fell upon man a great hail out of heaven. And there fell upon man a great hail out of heaven, and every stone about the weight of a talent. And men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceedingly great. Folks, why am I reading that scripture to you tonight? Because each of us is seeing what is happening in our world. It doesn't matter where you live, it's happening where you live. We're seeing earthquakes. We're seeing all kinds of tribulation. We are seeing all kinds of trouble. Our money situation has basically almost dried up. We need our Heavenly Father's help. We need our Heavenly Father's help. We need to pray. We need to get used to praying every day, several times a day even. The Lord wants to hear from us. We need to hear from the Lord. We need the Lord's blessings in our lives. The Lord is waiting to hear from us, brothers and sisters. The Lord is waiting to hear from us. And when He hears from us, great things are going to happen. I promise you, great things are going to happen. The Lord wants to bless us. Pray to Him. Find individual revelation from Him to you and your families. The Lord will bless you. I promise you that He will. As we repent and do what the Lord wants us to do, great blessings will happen. And yes, we can turn our countries around. But it's up to us. It's all up to us. The Lord can't do it without our help. Without our help, the world will be destroyed as we know it. That's what I feel. That's what I know will happen. I am only one servant of the Lord. You also join me as servants of the Lord here, in your various places where you live. You are servants of the Lord. The Lord loves you. You are the Lord's servants getting His message out. Folks, pray. Pray like you've never prayed before. Pray with your children. Pray with your spouses. Pray with your entire families. I promise you great things will happen when you do so. The Lord loves you. The Lord wants to bless each one of us. May God bless us this day and have His Spirit to be with us always. I love you, brothers and sisters, I really do. That's the only reason I'm here, because I care about you. I care about your families. I care about your friends and neighbors. I care about everybody. We're going to see great tribulations happen. We're going to see monster earthquakes. We're going to see very, very bad things happen. We can try to avoid this tribulation if we but turn to the Lord. I promise He can turn it around for each one of us. Now, folks, if anything else happens tonight, we will be back here on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Until then, may God bless you. May God be with you this day and always. God bless you. God be with you. until we meet again. We will see you on the other side. Tomorrow night we will be back here for sure, sometime after 6 p.m. Eastern Time. God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. Much love.
you.